Hi guys, it's me. This is my voice. Hooray! How exciting. I'll touch on this more at the end of the video, which is obviously a little bit late considering that we are a ways into 2021, but I thought it's better to make this late than never, and I have a lot to say. These are quite juicy, if I may say so myself. Comment your own predictions below. But before we get into the video, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Clutebox. Clutebox is a K-pop subscription service where you can get boxes of K-pop merch delivered to your door every month. You can choose which group you want a Clutebox based around, with the current selection including BTS, Blackpink, Twice, and more. And the best part of it all is that shipping to most countries is entirely free. Use the link in the description or the code axiestan at checkout to get 5% off your order. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, when I say standard practice, obviously I don't think that every single group will do it, but at least among big companies, I think this will be the case. Making an English version is not something that is particularly hard for companies to do, especially if the demo of the song that they turned into the title track already came with English lyrics. I've noticed that bigger companies tend to use more overseas producers than smaller ones, which is why I think that they will already have English lyrics on hand. This is a major advantage since English lyrics written for songs that were originally meant for Korean lyrics tend to sound weirder. Just look at the English versions of G-Idol songs, which are all produced by Soyeon, and therefore would have been produced with Korean lyrics in mind. I think that we are already starting to see the beginning of this trend now that many top groups are being signed with American record labels. I don't think making English versions has to do with pleasing the fans that these groups already have, or even pleasing fans of K-pop in general, since those fans would have already known the original version. It's more about proving to people who don't already like K-pop that these groups can sing in English. The language barrier is the biggest barrier to getting into K-pop in my opinion, so it makes sense that the American record labels that bigger groups are signed to will try to eliminate it. I'm especially curious as to whether any of these English versions will get radio play. And I don't just mean getting featured like once, but actually making the rounds. Sure, the pronunciation of the lyrics may not be great, but to be honest, I can't understand the lyrics of most original English songs either, so there won't be much of a difference. The reason I'm predicting a bigger scandal for aespa is because both aespa and SM as a company are very divisive. Is it divisive or divisive? Anyways, I don't think that there are many people who think that both aespa and SM are just okay or don't pay attention to them. Rather, everyone either loves them or hates them. And just looking at aespa's career so far, they've had multiple controversies despite only existing for 2 months. There's been the pre-debut bullying accusations, the plagiarism controversy, the AI controversy, and those are just off the top of my head. There's a very large group of people who really hate aespa, and the reason they exist is actually because of SM. SM is a company that takes the cultivation of obsessed fans to the next level. Like, you've seen the hotel thing they're developing, the AI thing, like there's just so many things. And so while this means that aespa do have a very dedicated fan base, it also means that the fan bases of other SM groups are strongly against them. I kind of understand where these fans are coming from, because as a hardcore Rebel of myself, it's hard not to see the debut of aespa as the beginning of the end for Red Velvet. Fans will see all the resources being poured into aespa and wish that their faves had gotten them instead. But like it or not, there's not much I can do about it, which is why I try not to conflate aespa's success with Red Velvet's downfall. That's just what I think though. Like I said, these crazy fans are one of the main reasons why aespa gets so much hate. Any scandal that they do get into, even if it would be small by other group standards, will get blown up by these people and made into a bigger deal than it already is. However, even though I predict that aespa will get into a scandal, it will by no means be the end for them. aespa being very divisive means that though they have a lot of haters, the fans that they do have are very dedicated, and I think that they can weather anything. We've seen the amazing capability of Stan Twitter to sweep literally anything under the rug while never letting go of other scandals, depending on if they like the idol or not. I'm not sure what the Stan Twitter reaction would be if aespa got into a scandal. We do know that they love Red Velvet, because lately it's been as if Irene's bad attitude is gonna literally never happen, but that's a rant for another day, so I'm not sure if this love for Red Velvet translates into a love of aespa, because they are a new SM group, or a hate of aespa, again, because they are a new SM group. No matter what, aespa really can't win. I predict that K-pop as a whole will get a lot more popular, but being a K-pop fan will be seen in an even worse light because of it. I did just touch on Stan Twitter and its immense power over the international K-pop scene, but lately Stan Twitter has been expanding to apply to other fandoms, with the most notable I think being the Minecraft YouTube Stan Twitter. When K-pop and Minecraft YouTube meet, it's interesting to say the least, but as I was saying, you now have to specify which kind of Stan Twitter you are talking about, even though in the end you can switch out whoever they are standing and the general language and behavior will be the same. More people on Stan Twitter, regardless of who they are standing, means more bad behavior, and that ruins the image of stans everywhere. This prediction also goes along with the English language prediction, since if groups are expanding internationally, their stans will also expand internationally. Now this is just from personal experience, but the fandoms with the greatest proportion of international fans tend to be the most annoying, since who's gonna argue with them? Meanwhile, groups with a low proportion of international fans simply aren't annoying on Stan Twitter because there are very few of them there. I think that in the end, whatever things that teen girls like will get a lot of hate simply because teen girls are the ones that like it. This has been the case all throughout history. I mean, even Beatlemania had this problem. The reason all of us K-pop fans feel so defensive and therefore become toxic is because we've got the internet, so we see so much more hate than someone who is off social media entirely would. It's not fair to say that hateful people in a fandom don't represent it, because like it or not, they are in there and they're being toxic, and that's the end of the story. I'm not sure what I originally set out to say here, but yeah, I predict the world will both love and hate K-pop a lot more in 2021. BTS are an interesting case, but I think they would start to decline military service or not. Now, will they actually start losing fans? No, I don't think so, but I predict that they will gain fans at a slower pace than they did during 2020. It's not so much them getting worse as the fact that when you're at the top, there's nowhere to go but down. Anyone who might be interested in BTS has pretty much already heard about them and started standing. Someone who wasn't interested before isn't about to do a 180 and change their mind. The very factors that make them popular, such as their increased creative freedom, could slow them down in the future. For example, Life Goes On has a much worse performance than Dynamite, but that's just because it appears to be a more personal release, meant for their fans to enjoy as opposed to expanding their public influence. And that's just what happens as groups get older. They rely on their existing fanbase more. I'm expecting some high quality stuff from BTS in 2021. I actually think that their fans will be very happy with what they release, since I predict that they will focus more on pleasing their fans. Will their music quality go downhill? No way, no, they're gonna keep at it, but the rate of expansion will go down. Now, you guys know I ult Twice, so it really pains me to say this, but Twice hasn't managed to make the same impact in 2020 that they did in 2019. So in 2021, I don't know if they'll be able to pick up the pace. If you look at album sales, More and More has about 100,000 more sales than Eyes Wide Open, which doesn't make sense considering that Eyes Wide Open was a full album and should therefore have been a bigger deal. You might think that Eyes Wide Open's lower sales are because it has been out for less time, but More and More achieved Eyes Wide Open's sales count within less time than Eyes Wide Open did. I Can't Stop Me also got fewer music show wins than More and More. So people were clearly more interested in More and More. I think this is because the bulk of Twice's sales used to come from Korean fans, who are more dedicated, but now that Twice has a mature concept, these fans are leaving. I'm not sure whether JYP will keep driving home Twice's concept change to try to make an international impact, or go back to a brighter concept. International success is something that is hard to achieve, but the few groups that do get it see handsome returns. When I say Twice starts to go downhill, I don't actually mean that they will have less international success, but I do mean that they will have less success with their core Korean fanbase. I feel like you cannot really be massive both internationally and domestically. The only exception to that rule I can think of is BTS. So Twice focusing more on this concept change, and therefore international fans, won't bode well for their previous fanbase. I also feel like JYP has taken the attitude that Twice can do whatever and will sell well no matter what they do, so they don't put a lot of effort into Twice's promotions. They treat Twice like a literal money printer. I mean, fans have been complaining about their music video quality for years, but instead of doing something about it, JYP just made it worse. Fans have also complained that Twice was overworked, and lo and behold, 2 members are now known to have anxiety issues that prevent them from performing. If 2 members have come out about it, who knows if more will in 2021? It should be a wake-up call to JYP that Twice aren't doing as well as they used to, and hopefully they do something to stop it. But if the current trend continues, well, let's just say that JYP will regret it. Recently, we've been graced with the announcement that not only will there be Rosé's solo in 2021, but Lisa's as well. I think that at this point, there is no way that any statement that comes out of YG can ever be 100% true. But I'm willing to say that Rosé's solo will happen, simply because we've gotten so many announcements about it, and I think that they sort of talked about it a bit in Light Up the Sky as well, but don't quote me on that. YG did actually deliver on their promises for 2020, which is why I will trust them to deliver on this one promise. But Lisa's solo? I don't know about you, but I feel like we haven't gotten nearly as much information about Lisa's solo as we have Rosé's. And on top of that, it would be kind of weird for two members to have their solo in the same year, when at that point it would have been 3 years since the last solo, Jennie's. It feels kind of overwhelming when too many group members do a solo in quick succession. Just look at Mamamoo's activities in 2020. I think that Lisa's solo would only happen if Blackpink had a group comeback in between her and Rosé's solos. And if Blackpink does at least one pre-release for that group comeback, that is 3 promotional periods for 1 year, and any more than that I think would be a bit tiring to the general public. Fans will eat it up, of course, but Blackpink's status as one of the top K-pop groups means that the general public needs to be factored in. Blackpink did actually match Western album cycles back when they had one comeback a year, and I think that they will continue that next year. As for Rosé's solo itself, I think she'll go with a more emotional but still powerful song. She will definitely not do a ballad because those simply aren't popular internationally, but probably wouldn't do a song with a heavy instrumental chorus either because she would want to show off her vocals. I really think that she can pull off anything, and if you couldn't tell already, I am super excited for it, so I have very high hopes. To end the video on a positive note, I think that 2021 will be the year where anything can happen. The increase in the K-pop fandom as a whole means that many more groups can gain a small fan base and survive for a period of time before they hit their lucky strike. You don't need to have massive success at your debut, you just need to make enough money to stick around until it does happen. I mean, just look at Oh My Girl, they are older than Twice and Blackpink, if you didn't know. But I've seen so many people thinking they are a 4th gen group simply because they only became popular now. They've talked about how they nearly disbanded multiple times, and look where they are. It's stories like theirs that make me very hopeful for the future of K-pop. A lot of times I look at some of the smaller groups that I like and get kind of sad because I think to myself that there's no way they can last another year. But then I remember that K-pop is an industry that is so random. I feel like next year, some idol that no one knows about will go viral for the most random thing, like their wink or their taste on food or something. And then everyone will fall in love with them, and then bam, their group will have success. Stranger things have happened, you know? I'm just really excited to see what will happen next year, but hey, we'll never know until we find out. Here's to 2021. And that is the end of today's video, but I did say I was gonna touch on the whole voice reveal thing for a bit, so I'm doing that now. Hearing my voice is probably really weird for you guys, because I remember when I heard YouTubers that I liked doing voice reveal, I was like, oh my god, that's what their voice sounds like, no way. And honestly, a lot of them I did really hate, and I unsubscribed because I was like, that voice is not my taste. So I need you guys to tell me, do you like this voice? Do you prefer Daniel? That's the name of the robot guy. Because if this is not good for you guys, I will gladly just go back to using Daniel, because honestly, using Daniel, way easier. I don't have to spend time sitting here talking to no one in my room all alone. It's very awkward, and I like views, okay? And so, if you will view my videos, if I use Daniel instead of this, then I will use Daniel. Very easy, so just tell me what you think in the comments. I guess that's all I have to say now. There's some videos that I'm really looking forward to making now that I can use my voice. Like, I think it will be fun. But don't forget to comment your own predictions below if you agree or disagree with me. So bye guys, and I'll see you in the next one.